All right. I'm assuming it's told you it's recording.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you can see this page, correct, of
Yes.
what we're
Yeah.
supposed to do. Okay. So we are to apparently choose three of the following guidelines that we wanted to learn more about. We probably all chose the same things. Who knows?
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, who wants to go first of, you know, the three things that you chose and why? Don't all speak at once.
The I technically chose three because I had to, but the two that I'd say I most need to work on is like changing behavior and becoming more skilled at like designing messages.
Okay.
Uh, but I chose those because change my behavior with how I utilize media, how much I access it, what I use it for, all that. And then I've never been good at like being aesthetic or making like my Facebook or Instagram or even messages, things like that look good. And honestly, I'd kind of like to not have to do it, but technology is so involved in everyday life nowadays that I kind of have to. Um, and I guess the other one was like don't take privacy for granted. I kind of don't ever pay attention to that. I just ignore like any privacy stuff, anything like that. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I probably should. That.
Okay. Zariah, what about you?
I mean, I think I need to work on most of these, for being really honest. um,
I agree with
but
me.
I always think it's really interesting to learn more about like the aesthetics of it, because like I just watch like media and I'm like, oh, that was cool, and I don't like, and then I have like my cousin and he's just like super into like analyzing movies and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I didn't see any of that, like, and they talked about the writing versus the directing, so I think that's always really cool. I also think it's really interesting to think about the reality and fantasy continuum, because it's just like kind of, and some things it's obviously like really easy to tell, is this fantasy, is this reality, and in some things it's a lot harder, and I wonder how much of the time I'm maybe not noticing that. And then I think I need to really work on strengthening my personal locus, because most of this stuff I'm just like, whatever happens happens. Like, so they sell my information online. Oh well.
That's how I am too. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I chose strengthen your personal locus too. And it is because I think I've never really felt it was necessary, but after
Mhm.
taking this class, um, there's so much more to it that you don't realize that media, how it affects you. And I think you can become, I mean, our goal here in life is to become like our Heavenly Father, right? And by gaining more knowledge, more understanding of things. And I think when we don't set goals, I know it talked about um, oh, I took it in one of my classes a couple of semesters ago. We had to read his book and learning how to set goals and stuff like that. And I think by setting down and setting goals and then focusing on those goals as you use media can make you, more media literate and gain more knowledge and the proper knowledge and not just assuming that all information is correct and so I think that's what strengthening your personal locus would do for me personally. So that was one that I chose for sure.
Yeah.
um
I
I
liked what you
think
said about like setting the goals. It was making me think. Actually, my ward has talked about this a lot in church. They keep quoting. I think it's, well. So they talk about so it's like you're in a boat, right? And you're just like stranded in the middle of the ocean, and you just like what do you do, right? Like no matter what direction you row, it doesn't really make much of a difference because you don't know where you're going. But as soon as land comes into sight, and once you have that goal, then it matters where you're going. And I guess there was like a Lewis Carroll quote, like the Cheshire Cat. Alice comes to the Cheshire Cat and she's like, well, what road should I take? And he's like, well, where do you want to go? And she says, well, I don't know. And he says, then it doesn't matter which road you take. And so kind of like just very much having goals, knowing where we want to end up, and then figuring out how to get there. Otherwise, if we don't understand the importance, we're like me, and we're just like, oh well, whatever happens, happens. I'm just gonna go with the flow. But then that flow doesn't get us anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up a great point because that's what this book. I have brain fog today, and I'm like too many kids that were here over the weekend and having to care for them all. Um, but that was the thing is, what is your end result? What's your end goal? And if you don't have that, like you said, Zariah, then it doesn't matter what way you go because you don't have that end goal in mind. And so to me, that is something that definitely I want to change. I mean, I even thought like having goals of learning. So this goes along with acquiring a broad base of useful knowledge. And it could be with books, it could be with movies, it could be, anything that can help bring more knowledge to me, and I think that was another thing that I felt that was important was expanding my knowledge and not just, staying with what I like or what's comfortable for me, but expanding that knowledge to, obviously increase my knowledge. And then I think the last one was the same one as I think Erin had of become more skilled at designing messages. So my Facebook page, like, is from when I the very beginning of setting it up. I haven't gone in and changed, like what my career is, that I'm a student, anything like that. I mean, where I still lived, I've moved, 6 years ago. So it's changed a lot. And I even know, so, my office manager, she does go in and she does look at people's Facebook profiles to kind of get an idea when she's hiring somebody of what they're like and stuff like that. And so I think that can be an important thing of making sure that we become more skilled at designing our message and setting our profile, that gives the knowledge of who we are and what kind of person we are. So
Yeah. I think it's a good way because of how much technology is in life today. It's a good way to like present yourself without like committing, I guess is a way to say it. Like everybody sees it. There's nobody that signs.
yeah.
So yeah. And I've not updated my Facebook since like 2013.
Yep, that's about the
Yeah.
same time. You probably were just a little kid at that time.
Oh yeah, I was probably like 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Had the same thing. My bishop came up to me one day and was like, "Oh, happy birthday! I saw this picture of you. You were so cute as a kid." And I was like, "Where did you get a picture of me?" He had found my Facebook from when I was 10
At first I thought you were gonna say because my kids would always try to cheat the system and like not put their correct birthday or do like their half birthday. And so I thought your bishop was coming up to say, "Oh, happy birthday." And it's really not your birthday because it, said it was your birthday on Facebook, but it really wasn't. But okay.
No,
But that's
it was
still
a real
funny that
birthday,
he
but he
could
found
access
pictures.
your little picture.
And I was like, "Oh shoot, no, you shouldn't look at my 10-year-old Facebook posts."
That's
Nice.
funny. Yeah, come back and bite you. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Need to go in and delete them.
No, don't because you'll regret
The
it. It's fun to
memories.
look back
Yeah.
at those things for sure.
I think I
I've
have them
looked at
screenshotted.
I've looked back at some embarrassing stuff I put on Facebook when I first made it. My goodness. My
I think
goodness.
that's why it's be careful of the things you say, the things that you present,
Mhm.
because they
Right.
don't go away, you know? And so I think that's why you have to be very careful of how you design your messages and the things
Yeah.
that, you put out there because
Yeah.
they stay forever. So, okay. So what have you learned? So we just need to, I think we kind of just said what we learned,
Mhm.
how we can become more proactive in the future. How do you guys feel like you can become more proactive?
Well, since starting this class, I actually deleted Instagram and stuff. I don't even use them anymore, which I may have to get them back to better my presence. But that I've deleted them, and I now do a lot more reading and different stuff like that instead of sitting on my phone for hours on it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think, I mean, it's just kind of like when we did the section on video games. Like video games are not a bad thing, right? And
Yeah,
Instagram's not a bad thing. It's what's our goal while using them? And if it's just to scroll, then yeah, it's not going to benefit us. But if we're using it to gain information or to, stay in touch with other people or what is our purpose? What is our goal? What is the end,
yeah,
thing? Then that's when, but I'm not saying that you should not read and you should be on Instagram because reading is great too. And in fact, I am like, so I will be done. So this was one of my classes that was just kind of an elective class. And anyway, so I just have the summer classes. I have two classes I have to take, and then I'm completely done. And I told my daughter, please advise me never to go on to get my master's or anything like that. But I just thought, what are some of the things that I can read? Because my time is occupied by things that are for school and doing homework and reading different things. And so I think it's fun to think about, oh, what book do I want to read now? And I used to have a Deseret book. Like that you could read all of their books
Mhm.
for free type thing that they had. And I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to get another, one of those that I can have unlimited, reading to catch up on the reading I haven't been able to do. And so to me that's fun. But those are some of my goals of for my future of how I want to change.
Mhm.
So why is media literacy education important to you now?
and again, it goes back to how much technology is in our lives.
Mhm.
Need to know how to actually use it properly, not let it control us or others.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
I
allow it
think.
to benefit us for sure.
Mhm.
Sorry, Zaraya.
No, I just think my mom did a really great job at like kind of just raising me to question and be very careful with my media, and so I never really thought about it. Like it almost like it almost had the opposite effect. Like I thought about things more, but I never thought about like why I was doing those things. And so like eventually being like a parent, right? Like thinking about like how do I achieve that for my kids? Like if I so like learning as I become more media literate, I will be able to learn to help my children be more media literate as well, kind of like my mom was able to help me be. I just that's one of my things.
Yeah, I
That's what I
thought
liked
that
about,
was, sorry, Erin, go ahead.
I was just saying, that's what I liked about the recent chapter is it talked a lot about how to raise kids, the good
Mm-hmm.
way, best way to raise kids around technology and everything. I really like that.
Yeah, and I think um my kids are raised, but
Mm-hmm.
I have grandkids and how to help them become more media literate. And I think also we have a lot of power in how we can request things to change in where we live. And it was kind of discouraging to think of how little educating we do for kids in this area. And I think that's something that we can be more proactive in asking our government leaders to make changes in, because I think if we don't, I think media could be something that destroys us mentally. I mean, I've seen a huge decline in mental health that is associated with media, especially like social media aspect. And so I think, helping our government leaders know that that's an important thing is something I think that we can do, not just with our kids, but for our communities.
Mm-hmm.
What concepts from the class will you take with you after the semester ends?
I think for me the biggest thing was just like kind of learning like to question everything I believe. Like
Mhm.
be like, why do I think this? Why do I believe this is real? Why do I believe, this versus this?
Mhm.
And continuing and being more aware in my efforts to do that.
And be a lot more, not paranoid, but skeptical
Yeah.
about things you see, about, yeah, how it's presented and everything. Yeah, great.
Well, and knowing how to find out if that information is correct or not,
Mm-hmm.
I think is, something that I will take. I see people post things, and instead of just saying, "Oh, yeah, that's good to know," being like, "Okay, where did they get that information?" And are there other people that are sharing that same kind of information that, goes together? And, there's lots of things that I would say. One thing with the gaming thing, I'm not a gamer. Sorry, guys, I'm not. But
Neither.
I actually thought, I wonder because my son, he is horrible at texting
Mm-hmm.
or, calling his mom or anything like that. But I'm like, maybe if I started gaming with the boy, that would be our way of connecting. So
That'd be a good way.
I'm going to invest in some gaming stuff, that because, it to me was really interesting to see that this is the way like a younger generation is learning how to communicate and work with other people. It's a different way of interacting than, how I grew up interacting with people. So, you got any others of what concepts you'll take from the class? If not, we're moving on.
I guess actually, pretty important one for me is when we talked about like how to teach our kids to do all this stuff. So I mean, I can't imagine how integrated technology is going to be in 10 years when we have kids. Like it's going to be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think that one is extremely important because obviously it's good, technology is good, but there's also very negative parts of it. And that one is really, really.
Yeah. It'll be interesting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, transitioning to discuss the ethical case study that we did. Discuss the case study from the perspective of those arrested.
Mm-hmm.
Discuss the case study from a parent whose children were coached by the basketball coach or minister. Discuss the situation from the perspective of the newspaper publisher and discuss why you would not publish names in the newspaper, why you would publish the names in the newspaper. All right. So the perspective of those arrested. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, I
I
bet
feel
they
like
were. No, you go. You're good. You go.
I just feel like they would be maybe frustrated because of all the consequences that were happening in their life, but also for something that they, I'm sure, felt like was not like solely their, like just like it's not just me who's doing this, like it's like I'm not the only one at fault in this situation, and it's such a common thing. Why am I being called out and no one else is?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
Erin, what was your thought? You were going to say something too.
I would say I think they probably were really frustrated, like you said, and embarrassed and probably scared because
Yeah.
what they were arrested for is that's definitely impact the community and how people feel them to their whole lives. It means to change.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have all those going on. This is the thing though. So what they were arrested for is a misdemeanor. So there's lots
Mhm.
of misdemeanors that never get printed in the newspaper, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, as a person, if I were one who got arrested for something, kind of goes back to some general conference talk that it was like we all sin, we just
Mhm.
sin differently, and so we wouldn't want it posted if we did something wrong and have it posted in the newspaper, especially our address. I mean, I was like, holy cow, man, that is
Yeah.
really bold to,
It's
Yeah.
just
to
so
put
messed
not
up.
only the name. I mean, because people, my boss is funny. She always looks at the bookings every single day, which I think is funny. So, I mean, it can be found, that way. If you're arrested, then you're put
Mhm.
into bookings and stuff like that. But to put it in the paper that, not just that people go into the bookings and find it there, but hey, this is what happened, and these are the people that were arrested, and this is their addresses. I would be I'd be mad.
Mhm.
I'd be frustrated that, yes, I did something wrong, but you know what? That's why Christ gives us the opportunity to repent,
Yeah.
and change. And it makes it really hard to do that when everyone is judging you, for that situation.
Mhm. Yeah.
It was a massive invasion of privacy.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
great.
All right. Discuss the case study from a parent whose children were coached by the basketball coach, or who I can't move my little thing so I can see everything that's there. Sorry. Anyway, oh, we're taught in church by the minister. So I'll give you my 2 cents
Mhm.
about this. So I have a child who was sexually assaulted by a coach. I know this isn't the same situation. He was a teacher also. And it didn't just happen once, it happened like within a year and a half of time, about 15 different times. And so when he was arrested, when my daughter finally came forward to us and he was arrested, like our goal was not to slander him, but I wish I would have done a better job of teaching my child that it is a safe place to tell us if something has happened to you. And so
Mhm.
I think if anything, instead of going, oh my gosh, your basketball coach got arrested and he's this and he's that, and this is what he did, instead of taking it from that, to me as a parent, I would want to teach my coach, teach my kids that you need to protect yourself, and this, you could just say, this is what happened as a blank,
Yeah.
arrest. You don't have to name names or stuff like that. But teach your kids the importance of protecting themselves, and knowing what's right and wrong, and things like that. Make it a teaching moment for them instead of a rip on, the kind of person that you now, see that person as.
Yeah.
Good way to put it, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
You have any other thoughts? Sorry, that was kind of deep, huh?
No.
No,
I was Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, like, I don't have kids, so this is obviously very different for me
yeah.
versus you, right?
Right.
My first instinct would have been, I would have been just horrified, like, because of, I think my mind would go to all the worst case scenarios. What if this had happened?
Mm-hmm.
And so I like what you were saying about like turning it into a teaching opportunity and saying like this is how you protect yourself, because this is the kind of thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't happen this time, and that's great. But so let's learn from this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I agree. That's what I would have said too. You guys said it perfectly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Discuss the situation from the perspective of the newspaper publisher. Discuss why you would not publish names in the newspaper and why you would publish names in the newspaper.
I would not have published names in the newspaper. It's obviously what they did wasn't okay, but their privacy and also I don't know, the way like just totally ruined their lives, and not just their lives, like their individual lives, but also like their wives, their kids. Just anybody connected to them is gonna be like a suspect basically now. They're gonna get a side eye all the time. So I don't think it was okay. I don't think they should have.
I think, like, I 100% agree. I think that in general, they just shouldn't have. But I 100% also understand where they're coming from, where they're saying, hey, we've done this to other people. We've done this, maybe to the prostitutes. And so why aren't we doing this to the people that are coming to buy services from the prostitutes? So to that extent, I agree with that. I agree with the holding both parties accountable, right? Instead of just the prostitutes. But in general, I think neither party should have had their names published and their addresses published in this newspaper. So
Yeah, that was kind of hard, but I agree. Yeah, they both should have. Their privacy should have been respected better.
yes.
Yeah. Well, and the reason why I would not publish it is because it is a misdemeanor. It's not, like that they were somebody killed so and
Yeah.
so or somebody raped or, that is a higher, level. Whereas and so that's why I would not publish the names, but I also get kind of when you were talking, Zariah, sometimes when people fear stuff, it will hold them accountable more. So if you knew that every single time the newspaper was going to put those that got arrested, you might take a second, to think about like, do I really want to go through with this service or this act or whatever? Because if I'm arrested, it's not just I'm arrested and maybe my wife would know or my husband would know. But everybody in my community is going to know. My children's friends are going to know, and so maybe that holds people to, that's not worth the risk to them, that they will be held at a higher level of accountability if they were to go through with this. And so maybe by publishing, in the newspaper, people will be like, okay, like I got, maybe I got away with it this one time and I'm not going to do it again because I might be like them, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it was interesting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that we need to discuss? I think that's it.
I think so.
Okay. Well, I think unless next week we're supposed to meet as a group again, I think this is the last time. So unless you guys are taking some summer courses, are any of you taking summer courses?
No.
I'm the only crazy one, huh?
Technically, yeah. That's the like September to December one, or
No, it is. So it starts, so we finished what, July 23rd or something like that. And
Yeah.
it starts the next week and it goes for 7 weeks. So it ends in September, like September 10th is what summer
Okay.
is. So it's a quick 7 weeks.
Sure.
So
Okay, so now.
yeah. So anyway, it was nice getting to know you guys.
Yeah.
So and learning from you. You guys have great futures ahead of you for sure. So good luck with all you're gonna do.
Mm-hmm. And good luck with your almost with graduating.
Yeah.
Yay! It'll be nice, believe me.
Yeah.
So after
Yeah.
50 plus years,
Yeah.
I
My
finally can say
goodness.
I'm a graduate.
Mhm.
So, anyways, you guys have a great day.
All
We'll
right, you too.
we'll maybe message, on the message board next week. So,
Maybe.
okay. See you guys.
Bye.
Right.
Bye.